All right, welcome back, Mushlove from the Mushroom. I'm Jer, got my co-host Dan, and we have a special guest today, Zachary Babcock. Zachary, I know a little bit about. I know that he was in jail for a few years. I know that he got out of jail, started a podcast, and kind of hasn't looked back since. He has a podcast agency now. And I know he has a bunch of different side hustles and has kind of been taking off in a lot of different angles. And even his kids are entrepreneurs now. I know they're hustling Pokemon cards or even mowing the lawn sometimes, doing a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, which is pretty cool to see. Zachary, is there anything else you want to share about what you do or where you've come from?
Nope, man, that was awesome, dude. I'm just excited to be here, and thanks for having me here today, man.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. So today, this podcast, mostly we talk about microdosing mushrooms. We tend to talk sometimes about like spirituality, creativity, but most of the time we talk about microdosing mushrooms. Reason being, Danny and I started microdosing around the same time, probably like 6 months ago. And basically it's changed both of our lives. I'll let him speak, I guess, more for himself, but I personally, have definitely had like bouts of depression. I've definitely had suicidal ideations, definitely had just like hard to be motivated sometimes. From the first time I microdosed, I kind of, I've never like felt more positive and more just in control of my emotions, more like understanding, more intuitive, just a lot of good feelings that I'm getting. Not to say I still have bad days, but bad days are definitely a lot more easy to just get through, able to like understand why they're happening and kind of able to prevent them in the future. Danny, what would you say about microdosing, your experience for first couple months?
Well, my experience is very similar to yours. Throughout quarantine, I was definitely going through some serious anxiety, especially social anxiety and just kind of episodes of dissociation and stuff like that. Started microdosing right around the new year, and ever since then it's kind of really been transformative for me. I know me and you have talked about this a couple of times, Jeremy, but I feel like obviously it's not just, giving you the antidote, giving the sauce completely, but I feel like it really led me to some much better habits. It made me much more reflective, I felt like I got a third eye view, an objective view of myself. I got to step out of myself and kind of analyze some of my habits that I didn't like about myself. And then it gave me the means to correct them in a much more empowering way. So, I was like sitting in the studio 16 hours a day, making music, feeling uninspired. And then once I started microdosing, it kind of drew me to go out into nature more, to seek inspiration from, third parties and reach out more. I started meditating, doing breath work. Now I do the Wim Hof method literally every day to start my day. I meditate every day. And I honestly feel like I'm a way better person, a way more functioning member of society. And it's been amazing to see how, since they've helped me help myself, I can kind of transitively pay that forward and also help other people who are kind of suffering. And now I kind of am like that therapist for my friend group, where people will come to me when they have questions, or, people have seen my progress and have told me that it's inspired them. And now, I help my friends, whether it's with fitness, whether it's their mental issues and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my experience.
Nice. Zach, have you ever tried microdosing, or do you have any experience with that? Are you allowed to say that too, being a ex-con?
Oh, what's microdosing? What is this?
All right. Yeah, we'll
I'm
pretend,
just playing, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just playing, of course, dude. First time I ever did mushrooms, I wasn't doing it intentionally like I do now. I was a kid, dude, and I was doing it to get messed up, dude. I was getting high with my friends and having fun and laughing. You ever seen the movie Detroit Rock City?
Yeah,
where they put the mushrooms on the faster stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff was funny. But yeah, man, I used to hang up at now though, and then a lot's happened since then. That was back in my teenage years. But did a prison stint, got out, been out for almost 7 years now, and built a business to where they are. But this year, it's crazy. I just started doing it this year too. Same time as you guys, which is pretty wild.
Right.
But up until this year, I was all business, man. I was sacrificing everything else in my life, my relationships, my everything, dude, my health, all that. And this year I was like, man, what am I doing? And so I got it in gear and I started focusing on the whole picture. and I started doing smoking weed again, and doing the mushrooms, the microdosing in the woods, and a lot what you said, Danny, man, with the being able to, like, it's almost like being able to see myself objectively. It's helped me with that a whole lot. Dude, a lot of men don't talk about this kind of stuff because they think it's weak to talk about as men, but I don't. I think it's actually makes you more of a powerful man to be able to talk about stuff like this. But I've been focused on like dealing with traumas and stuff that have happened throughout my life that are running programs in my subconscious I'm not even aware of, that are limiting me in one way, shape, or form or another. Just to give you an example, because of the microdosing, I was able to discover that I've been putting up walls my entire life because I'm scared of getting close to people, because my entire immediate family died, and like I'm scared of losing people, and that's not fair to me, and that's not fair to my wife, and you know, all the other relationships that I have. So microdose helped me become aware of that and start to work on that.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you do anything to get that awareness? Like, do you journal? Do you have someone that you talk with, or how did you come about that? How were you able to figure that out?
Yeah, so I figured it out through, like, literally it hit me while I was hiking in the woods, but I was journaling about it before, and I had a question that I asked myself, and like I was thinking about it, and I was like, all right, we'll just come back to this journal exercise later, put it back in my rucksack and began hiking. But that question was still in my mind, and I was working through it, and that's where it came about. Yeah,
it's wild how it works like that. Like a lot of times microdosing, you might feel a little something during the day, but I think a lot of the insights come like the next day or afterwards, when you really like get the benefits and you're like, oh, that's why I did that, or whatever. But what I was gonna say, I guess next is what do you think as far as like the legality of it? Does that concern you at all? Do you think there should be businesses starting to try and enter the space, even though it's not legal yet, but it looks like it's primed up to be? Or what do you think of that aspect?
I thought you were going to ask me, like, what do you think about, like, from a legality standpoint? Are you scared to do it because it's not technically legal
yet? No, doing it, I don't think matters. Because no one knows if you did it or not. You just pick something up and eat it.
Yeah. I don't know so much from the business aspect of it. I think, yeah, if that's your expertise, start building that now, because I do think that it is. I mean, it's in the third stage of getting FDA approved or whatnot, or
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming, man, and about time too, man. Because I mean, dude, alcohol's legal. Alcohol is horrible for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is good for you if you use it intentionally, right? Now, a disclaimer, I'm not a medical expert, and if you go out and do shrooms and fry your brain or whatever, I'm not responsible.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put that disclaimer out as well. We don't, we're just talking, we don't really know anything we're really saying.
Yeah, we're just talking our own experience, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you said you started smoking again too. Are you smoking more intentionally now, like not just for fun, like you might have done when you're a teenager? Is it more like to get creative or to chill out or whatever?
Yeah, man. So it's 3:30 right now. I wrap up my work day where I'm at. I wrap up my work day every day at 4 p.m. And then I go to get my second gym session in for the day. And then I come back home and I eat dinner. And right around 6 p.m., give or take, some days we eat a little bit later, some days a little bit earlier. But right around then, I take a hit of weed, and it helps me get really present. Like I could do that now without it, but it helps me get even more present, like just dialed the F in. Right. And it help, and then so I get to be real present with my family, and we get the house in order, and then we create memories together, hang out with each other, talk about our day. And that's just how I wind down my days. And I really enjoy it. It really, man, I mean, I haven't spent this much time with my family before this year ever, you know, and now I am. But I will say this, I'm also, don't know, but I'm also looking to see if like I'm using it as like a crutch right now. Right. And maybe I am before I go out, because I'm getting ready to go do a MDMA therapy session, legit one to work on the traumas and whatnot. Yeah, and I think
where's that?
this one is going to be in Tennessee.
Cool.
And then eventually I'm going to graduate to the ayahuasca and do all that. Like I want to go head on and just face those demons and do the real hard work that most people run away from.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think like after I start really diving into that, I think I probably won't. I don't know. But I might not even use the weed after that. I might just be able to be dialed in all the time. But we'll see.
Yeah. Do you drink at all?
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
What's it called? Do you do any other like substances that you'd be willing to share? Or
no, nope. So the only thing I do regularly is the weed every day, and then I eat my edibles at night, right as I go to bed, because I get the best sleep and recovery possible on them.
Oh yeah.
And the CBD, and then the mushrooms, and I microdose on mushrooms about once a week. Sometimes I don't always do it every week, but about once a week.
Oh, nice.
So those are my regulars, and I'm gonna go do this MDMA therapy session. But other than that, though, no, I don't use any other substances other than like supplements that like protein and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, is that more because you aren't aware of like some benefits that some substances might have? Are you kind of against substances, or just like haven't come across them? So like some substances I like to use, not just for fun or whatever, would be kratom. I think is a pretty popular one. Mostly like gets me like stimulated and into like a work mode. And then I enjoy kava, which is something a lot of people haven't really heard of. It's big in Hawaii and the like Polynesian islands, but it's gets you like super chill, anti-anxiety. And the coolest thing about kava, I think, is it's reverse tolerance. So if it takes you 3 cups to get rooted, is what it's called. If it takes you 3 cups to get rooted your first time, you drink 3 cups a day. In like a week, 1 cup will get you the same rooted as the 3 cups did before, which I've never heard of anything having a reverse tolerance like that, right?
Me neither. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's super cool. And the feeling of being rooted, if I'm gonna send you some, I'll find out your address and I'll send you some kava. But the feeling of being rooted is awesome. It's like, you literally get rooted into your chair. You kind of have a numbing feeling in your face, and you kind of have a body high like edibles. And you just straight chill. It's big in Hawaii. Like I said, a lot of people who are recovering alcoholics tend to do it. Do you hear that, or is that just me, that crackling?
I hear it a little bit too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, because I think he's muted. But what's it called? It's big in Hawaii. It's big for like people who are recovering alcoholics, and then just big for just in general, people just to relax. I feel like we're frozen right now, though. Zach, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were frozen for a sec. My bad. Or it looked like you were super still. I don't know. But those are some of the I guess you'd call them drugs, but I think they're just substances like everything else that I like to use. I guess are there I put him on mute. I don't know what's going on with his audio. But would you be open to doing any things like that, or is it kind of just it's never been presented to you, or you kind of just don't want more substances in your body, I guess is the question.
I'd be open to it. Dude, I've done all the drugs you could think of in my life.
Yeah. Definitely. I've been there too. I've probably done all of them except like one that I can think of. But and honestly, I don't really regret it. They all like had a time. They were all enjoyable. Some of them I ended up doing a little bit too much. And honestly, the worst part is thinking about like how much money I spent on drugs. Like that just sucks. But drugs are they're powerful. I mean, they really get you thinking in a different way, and really displace you. And if they're used for the right reason, they can be really good. It's just they're not always used for the right reason.
I've got a question real quick, if that's cool if I interject.
Yeah, all good. Sorry, I muted you before. It was a little spotty with
Nah, you're good. I got to apologize for my audio and everything. I'm in the car on the way to the airport right now, so excuse if there's any wind or anything like that. But Zach, you mentioned you work out twice a day. You're big into fitness. Have you noticed any like microdosing helping with your fitness or detracting from it? Do you feel more inspired, less on the days? Because I have been in a big fitness kick for like the past 6 months. I've been hanging out with a lot of personal trainers, and working out is like a big core ritual to keep me stable mentally. And I've noticed when I microdose, I get some of the most intense workouts, and I get a really good mind to muscle connection. I was just wondering what's your take on that?
Bro, I'm gonna have to try that out because I've never went and worked out while I was microdosing. But I would definitely try it out. I've only done the microdosing at my home and hiking in the woods, but would definitely like to try that out and see how that
Yeah.
find a muscle connection. I bet it'd be pretty gnarly.
It's wild, honestly. I feel like I've made some of my PRs in the gym have been days where I was microdosing, obviously very, very small amounts, but man, it's weird how you realize how much of working out is mental when you microdose and work out, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm throwing up 20 more pounds than I usually would be or whatever. So that's just my personal experience. So I was wondering if you had any, but and one other thing you were saying earlier, this is just a topic I wanted to kind of hop back on because I think it's super important. I loved how you were talking about like masculinity in society and how we don't talk about these things, like trying to better ourselves as men or trying to work through traumas. I feel like now more than ever, there's this big thing of, kind of toxic masculinity you see on social media, on Twitter. And I feel like, especially at my age, I'm 23, I see a lot of tension between males and females, almost like, very polarized, very, it's like we make each other enemies. And I've noticed for sure that plant medicine has definitely helped me be more intentional about, my own masculinity, and how you were saying too, like masculinity doesn't have to be this shut off, closed thing. It's something where you can, embrace those traumas and open up. So yeah, I thought that was something very important that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to touch back on.
Right on, bro. Some real stuff, man, for real.
Yeah. What would you say do you do anything to promote like guys being more cool with themselves and open with themselves to not be scared that it's not so masculine? Because I know you have like a few groups on Facebook. I'm sure you have some other networking groups that you're a part of. Do you ever do that? Or
I feel like the best way to do it is just like I just did, is just share my own experience and talk about it openly myself. And then my following, there's going to be men in the audience that see that, and then maybe they need to see that, and they're like, oh, I can talk about this stuff or something, so I just feel like just showing up and sharing your own experience through it will help inspire others to go down the same path.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. What's it called? You do have a Facebook group, I believe it's like the Alpha Underdog. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, Underdog Empowerment Movement. Yeah,
Underdog Empowerment Movement. So what's your your goal for that, for the group? What are you really trying to do with everyone?
Yeah, so that is a Facebook group for our community, our podcast community. So we got Underdog Empowerment Podcast, and the 3 places we always tell everybody is, hey, go to the podcast, get on the Underdog Empowerment newsletter, and get in the Underdog Empowerment Facebook group. Those are all the places where we do all the communication and stuff, and we get to build that movement there. And then the goals for it is, I'm currently building this brand called Alpha Underdog. I started letting little stuff out the bag about it. I've been building it all year. I got the methodology, already built. I've been running it myself for years, and I just make little 1% tweaks over time, but I feel like it's pretty dialed in right now. But it's Alpha Underdog. It's the evolution of Underdog Empowerment. It's an identity. It's a way of life, and we have it all: mind, body, soul, relationships, and finance. And it's just putting it all together. Not trying to balance everything, because there's no such thing as balance, but putting it all together to get it to work in a harmony together. That's what Alpha Underdog is about, and that's what the whole purpose of the group is, to help people ascend up to become the most alpha versions of themselves.
Nice. So what are some of the things you promote to become the most alpha version of themselves?
Yeah, man, a lot of it you'll start seeing a lot more of it as we launch this brand. and it's probably going to be launching in 2022. I'm taking my time with it. Normally
Nice.
I push stuff out, but this stuff I'm like, there's a few personal battles I got to win first with myself before I even launch this.
Yeah, for that.
But some of the things that I help promote, being an alpha version of yourself would be, to do your alpha 5 is what I call it. Alpha 5. You got your daily alpha 5, weekly and quarterly, but the alpha 5, there's 5 pillars: mind, body, soul, relationships, finance. So every day we got to be not just working on your business every day. You gotta dial in your health, your mindset, your relationship. You got to show up everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot more detailed, and I'll spare you those details, but every single day, you show up and you do your daily disciplines and whatnot, and you carry that out to have it all in life.
Definitely. Maybe microdosing will be a facet of those 5 disciplines as well. Who knows?
Amen.
Hell yeah. But back to microdosing, a few more questions about that. So it sounds like you've done mushrooms. There is microdosing of some other psychedelics also. LSD would probably be one of the most common ones. Do you see any difference of like microdosing mushrooms or LSD? Is that something that you wouldn't be opposed to trying as well, or is kind of one and the same?
I'd be down to do LSD and microdose on it. I was scared of it for the longest time. That's probably one of the drugs that I haven't done. LSD and meth are the only drugs I haven't done, I think.
I beat you there.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd definitely be down, dude. I know a lot of people had a lot of good experiences on that. I just been I used to be scared of it because I know people that had bad trips and it messes them up afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I'd be open to it. And man, I tell you what, is it all right if I ask you guys a question about it?
Of course.
Do you always just microdose mushrooms, or do you ever just like eat a whole fucking cap or whatever? Like, how do you usually go about it?
No, I definitely eat a whole cap pretty frequently. So I microdose. There's a protocol. There's a few protocols that are popular. One of them is called Stamets protocol. The other called Fadiman. So Stamets protocol, you microdose 5 days on, and then you take 2 days off. The Fadiman protocol, you microdose 1 day on, then 2 days off, then 1 day on, 2 days off. I kind of like to do the Stamets protocol. And then like once a month, I like to take more than a microdose. I would say like between 0.5 and 2 grams. I'm chilling and vibing, but I'm not like tripping. Like I could probably talk to my mom, not for like so long, but I could probably talk to my mom with that. After 2 grams is where you're like in another world, a good world, but definitely in another world. I probably do that like once a month. And the thing is, like you mentioned before, you did mushrooms when you're a teenager, not with any intent. I did also. And like, I think there's still value in those mushroom trips without even really knowing it. They like bring you to some place. But I think now, even now taking them recreationally, like more than a microdose, I feel like I have some intent and at least like some reflection and analysis afterwards, where you still get a lot of good benefits or insights. And you're like, oh, that's why I do that, or that's why I'm annoyed by this, or whatever it might be. So there's definitely a lot of value. I think it's not promoted as much probably because it's a little bit more dangerous. You have to know what you're doing. I wouldn't like 3 grams of mushrooms to everyone is not a good idea. Like some people would would go crazy, where you kind of have to like work your way up that.
And then for me personally, I think one of the areas where me and Jeremy differ is I follow the Fadiman protocol. I don't know. For me, taking it 5 days in a row just seems kind of intense. I feel like I like to be the feeling of sobriety a lot of the time. I like to feel that state. So when I do my 2 microdoses a week, I really feel the difference and I really feel how it's affecting me. And then when it does come to macrodosing, I am someone who definitely enjoys like heroic doses. There's been times in my life I've taken like 5 grams, like plus and stuff like that. And I think it's funny, Jeremy was saying too, like now that I've microdosed and I treat mushrooms as a whole with way more intention, I put that same intention into my macro doses. But the one thing that I really enjoy that I think is really powerful for me, because I have pretty bad like OCD and anxiety. I'm very neurotic. I'm someone who's trying to constantly control life, which is to my downfall sometimes. But when I take my macro doses, the one thing I love is that no matter how much intention I put into it, is that there's always this question mark factor of sort of like how you were saying earlier in the woods, you write that thing in the journal and then it pops back up in your head. Like there's always things and thought patterns and thought loops that arise that you might have had no clue were lingering in the background. And that's my favorite part of a macrodose, is that forced feeling of surrender almost, because when I'm macrodosing, all of my neurotic tendencies and my feeling of wanting to control life kind of dissipates. And I feel like, you know what, I'm going to go with the flow. Whatever thoughts arise, I know that I'm strong enough to handle them in the moment. And I like that kind of spontaneity. So that's just my take.
Right on, man. Yeah, I was just asking because there's definitely times where what I do is not considered micro. It's
yeah. No,
because I love it, dude. Like for instance, Fridays. Every single Friday, I go out to the woods. That's my thing. Yeah. And most of the time, I'm doing mushrooms. Sometimes I don't have some, but most of the time I do. And when I'm on those, I like to take a little bit more than just a little microdose, a whole cup, maybe a couple or whatever. I don't weigh it out in grams or nothing, but man, I take enough to where I'm like, okay,
that's awesome.
And then I'll just walk for the next 4 to 5 hours deep in the woods by myself and just
see animals, see other things that probably aren't there, but
right. I don't know. It's weird, but I've seen people do it, but like, and like, because I started asking, but like, I like to put my hand on trees while I'm walking the woods. I don't know why, but I feel the energy off the trees, and
that's cool.
You ever notice like you put your palms together when you're microdosing? It feels really good, and like you can do it with your feet too. Do it sometime, man.
I don't know why. I'm definitely doing that next time though, and I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna touch all the trees too. People are gonna be like, "What is this guy doing?" Be like, "Yo, Zach Babcock."
Like this dude was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's part of the Alpha Underdog 5. Touch the trees. But what's called a couple of questions came to mind right there. I don't know why, but when would you be comfortable doing that, like with your sons? Like, would you be cool doing that when they're 15, or do they have to be 18, or should they really be like in their 20s or what? Or is that something you wouldn't want to do with your kids?
That's a really good question. So right now I tell my kids, like, whenever they've seen me smoke weed and stuff before, and I tell them it's my medicine. And then they say, "Oh, Dad, can I have some of that medicine?" I'm like, "You got to fully develop, or else it'll mess you up. So you can't have this yet,
Yeah.
I'd probably be comfortable doing the weed. Man, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I haven't really gave it that much thought, honestly, but for me, I'd probably be better off, like, get to 18 and then, you're cool. You've developed as a male for the most part fully.
Yeah.
Might have a little bit of growth left, but you're almost there, and I feel like that would be a good time to probably do that.
Definitely makes sense. And then have you ever, you alluded to, or you mentioned you wanted to do ayahuasca eventually, which I think not positive, but I think ayahuasca is basically DMT mixed with something else, and it makes ayahuasca. Are you familiar with DMT at all?
Yeah, because of Joe Rogan. But
I was gonna say, like, the top podcast guy, Joe Rogan, probably talks about DMT at least 3 times per episode. But what's it called? Are you familiar with like what it does or like how it works or anything?
Not really. And because I don't even listen to Joe's podcast, but everybody always talks about Joe Rogan does DMT or whatever. So I'm not. So fill me in on it. So
DMT, you're eventually going to do it with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is kind of like a 10-hour DMT trip, but DMT it's 10 minutes. And everyone has the same trip, which is the craziest part about it. You blast off into outer space. And I sound like a lunatic saying this, but it's completely real. You blast off into outer space. And then when you're up there, you have guides. Everyone's guides might be different. Yours will probably have like huge beards. Mine, my first time was like these ice cream men. They were made of like ice cream, whatever. And when you're up there, you just feel great. And you're like, before you go up, actually, the room like fractalizes. You have no idea. The room like kind of changes shape all of a sudden. You're not there. You go up to outer space. You're chilling, you're enjoying yourself. You don't feel like you're in the room you're at all. You have no idea where you are. You basically want to stay there. You're like, this is the best thing ever. And then your guides basically go like, no, you still have like work to do. And then they like give you something and then you come back to Earth. And that's everyone's trip, what you do on a DMT trip. So your guides might look different, but everyone goes up, you see your guides, they give you something and you come back down. And
Wow.
For me, like, it instantly made me think that there's either like an afterlife or there's other dimensions or there's like, there's a lot more going on than like what we see. Right away, I was like, this is nuts. This is just a level or like a stage, but this is definitely not it. Yeah, it's crazy. Are you intrigued to try it?
Yeah, I want to do some right now, dude.
Yeah, no, it's wild. So the thing is, it comes from like a tree bark, I think, or like you can make it in your house if you know what you're doing. But I believe it came in like a powder form before. So you'd have to do a bong, or you smoke like a bong of it, and basically you just blast off right away. 2 years ago, somehow some guy figured out a way that you could put it, like the weed cartridges they got now.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out a way to get DMT into a cartridge. So now you can basically get like a DMT cart. So it's good and bad. It's harder to blast off and see your angels, but and I as I'm like listening to myself, I'm like, what am I saying? But but what's it called? The kind of cool thing I like is that I'd say blasting off is like level 10. With the cart, you kind of can go like through the levels and like get higher and higher. So like you'll hit the cart and you'll kind of go level 1, 2, 3, and the room will start like fractalizing a little bit. You'll start seeing a little. You hit it again, you'll go 3, 4, 5, and like things are really changing shape, whatever. And you have to really like keep hitting it to blast off. With a bong of it, you put the powder on the bong, whatever, it's 0 to level 10 instantly. So it's good and bad because it's kind of scary as you're going up. Like most of the time when I do it, I get to level 4 and I go, fuck it, I'm not going any higher. Like this is nuts. But yeah, I don't know. It's a wild drug.
So I'm the kind of guy that's like, dude, give me the bong. Fuck the
Yeah.
cartridge.
Yeah, no,
Dude, I'm the same way.
You kind of have to, like, it's nuts. But Danny, do you have any closing thoughts, statements, questions before we kind of probably wrap this up?
I'm thinking overall, I think the conversation is good. I think as a whole, I think it's cool to see what plant medicine can do, how it can open people up, how it can connect you with family, it can connect you with yourself. For example, my dad is almost 61 now, and I gave him some mushroom microdoses on Easter. I've never seen him so relaxed. I've never seen him so calm and happy. And he was like, literally having some of the best time of his life. And we had a really deep therapeutic talk and stuff like that. And I think it's going to be cool to see it get destigmatized as time moves on. Obviously, I see you're like laughing at yourself as you're describing, DMT and some of the more extreme things. But I'm actually in the car with another friend of mine who was experienced with DMT, and his experience was very similar to what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So you're right in the sense that it is very, and that's why I give more credence to it being like almost a space that is real rather than it's just a hallucination, because everyone reports that same kind of place that they went to. It's like, oh, I went on vacation there too. Yeah, I saw that place. Mm-hmm. But no, I think seeing people get more and more into plant medicine, seeing how it can, like we were talking about earlier, can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, to allow you to, get that objective lens of yourself. I think that's something that everyone in society could use. I think, if we all were a little bit more outside of ourselves, it makes you more empathic. It makes you more aware of other people's conditions, and it makes you want to be a better person. And especially when you take higher doses of mushrooms, it makes you want to care about the earth. You were talking about touching trees and feeling almost like that life force going through them. And I completely agree with that. I know what you're saying when you put your feet or your hands together. It's like you feel connected with the flow of energy of life. Some people talk about Gaia, like a concept of the earth is aware. It's this sentient, living, interconnected being. And I think when you take mushrooms, it makes you a lot more aware of that. It makes you less likely to want to harm the earth. And I think if it's something more people tried, I think the world would be a more benevolent place. So I'm glad we're having these conversations. And like you also alluded to earlier, I think the destigmatization comes from people being bold and enough to talk about it and share their experiences. And that's beautiful. So we're glad to have you and to hear more experiences, because that's just furthering the healing.
Definitely. And then I guess for my closing statement, that was awesome, Danny. I basically echo most of that, but Zach, I guess let us know whenever we can come out to I believe you're in St. Louis, and trip balls in the forest.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Whenever you guys are ready, man. I would say let's do it sooner rather than later before it gets cold outside.
I'll bring the DMT, dude.
Hell yeah. I'm seriously, I'm down, bro.
But no, really, that was thank you for coming on with us. I know you're a super busy person, so to make the time for us, definitely am very appreciative of it. Hopefully you learned a little bit something. I enjoyed hearing about your experiences, and definitely we're gonna see you in the forest soon.
Likewise, man. Hey, I was really, really glad and happy to be on your show today. Appreciate you having me on. Great conversation, and can't wait to trip balls with you in the near future.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you. Much love, brother.
Much love. Much love.
All right.